A son dies of overdose. This is a Reddit a Reddit post that I saw a few days ago that hit me pretty hard. And it is a mom asking about the overdose of her son. And this was posted on the Reddit called Drugs. Drugs is the name of the Reddit, r-drugs. And this is the post about a mom asking about her son dying of overdose. The mom says, I have questions. My son died of an accidental overdose November 2020. I was wondering why he would take methamphetamine, amphetamine, fentanyl, and tramadol at the same time. Only he knows, of course, but I don't have to ask. Or only he knows, of course, but I don't have him to ask. I'm searching for the meaning of this. I'm devastated, and I can't help but wonder if this was on purpose or accidental. Does anyone have anything that could help me? I would appreciate it so much. Thank you. So right off the bat, methamphetamine, amphetamine, I've taken Adderall. I know Adderall is supposedly similar to meth. I don't know the amphetamine that was in his system, but it's an upper mixed with fentanyl and tramadol. Now, I'm just looking up what tramadol is. So tramadol is a pain medicine similar to an opioid, and it is classified as a synthetic opioid. And then there's also fentanyl in his system. I've never looked up I kind of know what fentanyl is. Fentanyl is also a powerful synthetic opioid similar to morphine, but is 50 to 100 times more potent. So fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than classic opioids like morphine. So you don't need a lot to kill someone else or kill yourself. And so this is complete speculation, but I would gather, based on my personal drug use and knowledge of the drug use of other people, is that this guy was taking the methamphetamine and amphetamine on purpose. So whether it was meth or some sort of ADHD medication like Adderall, Ritalin, and also was taking the tramadol on purpose to kind of maybe bring himself down off of the amphetamine, bring himself down off of the upper. He was probably taking the tramadol on purpose, and then the fentanyl was laced into the tramadol. So I would suspect that this kid did not know about the fentanyl. Maybe he bought the meth, whatever it was, Adderall, meth, and the tramadol. He bought those separately. And then the tramadol was laced with fentanyl. He took the tramadol either with the methamphetamine or trying to come down off the methamphetamine, and it was laced with fentanyl. The tramadol was laced with fentanyl, and he died. His heart stopped, passed away into sleep. And that's happened many times before. It's happened to music artists, actors. There's someone from every segment of society, it seems like, that's passing away from fentanyl every other week. And it's not only mixed in painkillers and downers, but it's also being mixed into uppers like cocaine. And I don't really understand that. I don't understand. I can see why a dealer trying to save money on selling painkillers and something like tramadol, I could see why a dealer would cut that with fentanyl. Again, it's stupid because it's 100 times more potent than morphine, but I could see why a dealer would cut that in because the fentanyl is cheap. You can mix in a small amount, and it will make the person feel a synergistic effect with the other downer they're taking. And if they don't take enough to kill them, if they take enough for a good high, I imagine the fentanyl combination with the tramadol could be pleasant. But why would you mix that into cocaine? Fentanyl is being found more and more in cocaine, and those two drugs don't match effects with each other. Cocaine is an upper, you blow a line of cocaine, and you want to start 8 businesses before midnight. And you want to talk your face off. You think everything you say is brilliant, and then you continue to go in the bathroom and take more bumps throughout the night, rub that shit in your gums, and cocaine. It's a hell of a drug. I've enjoyed it. I have not enjoyed the lows of it, but I've enjoyed being on cocaine, and it doesn't make sense to me why fentanyl would be put in there, other than some sort of other than a dealer having harmful intentions toward the people taking the drugs, which are his customers, which doesn't make sense. Why would a dealer purposely put something that's going to harm his customers? Why would a dealer put something that's not in his financial best interest into a drug to kill someone? That knowingly, if they take this amount, if they do a full gram and this amount of fentanyl is in there, if they blow that coke to the dome, they will die that night. Why would a dealer sabotage their own customer base? And this is a rumor that I've heard floating around online. It's that fentanyl is not... when you have overdoses of fentanyl, when you have people taking fentanyl mixed with other drugs like Xanax or cocaine, like Xanax may it kind of fits. They're both downers, both painkillers, both have painkiller-like effects, but cocaine, it doesn't fit at all. Why would you mix a downer with an upper with coke? That's not the desired effect. The desired effect of fentanyl is not similar to the desired effect of cocaine, whereas the desired effect of fentanyl is similar to other drugs like tramadol, morphine, Xanax. So this is a theory that I've heard floating around online, is that when you have fentanyl mixed with other drugs in copious amounts, where it's enough to kill you, that is not the doing of the dealer who's selling the drugs to their customer. It is actually warring cartels who are trying to sabotage the supply of other cartels. They will find a way to put in fentanyl to the drugs of other cartels, of other suppliers, and knowingly kill customers who buy that drug. So I'm sure that there are fentanyl accidental overdoses that happen, or dealers that are attempting to cut the drugs in ways that will enhance the effect. And still, that's fucked up, because fentanyl is such a powerful drug that, you can't really just casually mix in fentanyl with something and eyeball that and then sell it to people and feel okay with that. So it's not like I agree with fentanyl being laced into drugs with good intentions, because it's such a potent drug. But there is evidence, and there are rumors floating around that suggest, or I want to say there's evidence, because what I read was simply just a rumor. It was a post about the state of our current drug environment. But there are rumors and people talking about cartels using different tactics and more modern tactics of, instead of, going at each other and killing each other, they are finding ways to sabotage the supplies of their competition. And, commercially, this makes sense. If another supplier becomes known for killing their customers, you are naturally not going to buy from that supplier anymore. And there possibly are thousands of maybe even millions of people. I don't know how many people have died of incidental fentanyl intake, but it's definitely in the thousands, maybe the millions. I don't know, but why couldn't it be cartels? It makes sense. Cartels are known to have cartels are not known to have the strongest morals. So it wouldn't surprise me if one cartel was sabotaging the supply of another cartel, and then that makes its way down. And it would honestly be the perfect thing, because you don't need a lot of fentanyl to kill someone. You could sneak in a small amount to a big supply of drugs, and then that gets cut up unknowingly into smaller doses that are then cut down again and again, and it's dealt out to people. And so that bigger amount of fentanyl that you put in the beginning, that is enough to take out thousands of people, is now still present in the smaller amounts of drugs, and it's enough to still kill someone or give them a really fucking horrible experience, and even put them in the hospital if they don't die. And so hearing this story about this mom asking why her son took methamphetamine, fentanyl, tramadol, it makes me wonder why we haven't legalized harder drugs already, or we haven't provided a better path in the United States to legalize harder drugs. Because the war on drugs has been going on for decades. The government has not made any leeway. This isn't even a war anymore. The government has all of the resources on their side, and they can't fight a bunch of people who deal drugs. It's not a war. It's not even. Drugs are growing. The supply continues to grow. The demand continues to grow. The supplier is always going to be ahead of the government. The government's just playing defense, and the war on drugs has not worked. It's been, I don't know how many fucking years since we first declared a war on drugs, but it is safe to say that the dealers have won. I'm in Brooklyn right now, and if I really wanted to, I could probably get 20 different illegal drugs in my apartment within the next 3 hours. If I wanted to, I could call someone up or go on fucking Craigslist or some app that encodes your messages and look around for people dealing certain drugs, talking to someone. I could have that shit within the end of the day. So to say that there's a war on drugs is ridiculous. There's not a war on drugs. It's just a charade. And the only person that wins when you perpetuate this war on illegal drugs are the cartels, and the people who lose are the average person who doesn't know what they're getting. If you don't know what you're getting, you are at a very high risk of ingesting something incidentally that you did not intend to purchase. And this happens with things that are much more legal than drugs. There are toxic combinations or very bad combinations that people buy, that people can legally buy, that happen right now. Like all of these pre-workouts and like shit that I used to take all the time, all these supplements that are not FDA approved but are sold over the counter, and you can take this shit and people die of heart attacks, people have adverse reactions, and there are things that go on where there are ingredients inside these bottles and inside these powders that are not on the label. And so if that's happening in a legal operation, it's sure as shit happening in an illegal operation like producing cocaine or heroin. And if the government came in and we even approached the cartels, and we even approached the people who were involved in the supply and said, hey, listen, people are obviously not going to stop buying drugs. It has been illegal for decades, and the supply or the demand of drugs has not gone down. People will continue to buy cocaine, heroin, weed, pills, whatever it is. The demand is not stopping. It is not slowing. So let's work together and create a product that is safest for the user. And if the government stepped in, like they have already started to do with weed, which is great, and you designate, growers, you designate suppliers. Like if there was something like that for cocaine in the United States and something like that for heroin in the United States, where you would have exact dosages, you would know the strength of it, you would have something, you would have a much better indication of what you're actually taking and how much you're taking, and someone could advise you, this is what you're looking, this is the strain you're looking for, this is what this will do to you, this is how much you should take. And I'm not suggesting this be sold over the counter. I think harder drugs like weed, it should have more protections than weed, but it would be great if you could walk into a store, get your ID checked, maybe background check. If you could walk into a store and buy cocaine, and just cocaine, not cocaine cut with fentanyl, not cocaine with rat poison in it, not cocaine with fucking God knows what, with peroxide cleaner. You're not blowing gasoline up your nose. But if you could buy if you could buy a gram of cocaine from a store, you would know what percentage it was, you know how strong it was. Someone from the store would walk you through the inherent risks of it. They would ask you health questions. Do you have a history of heart heart problems in your family? Someone would have an honest conversation with you about cocaine, which millions of people in the United States already do, and they many times do not do it safely. And there's no way. I've just been guessing the times that I've done cocaine. I've done cocaine on 10 to 12 separate occasions in my life. And I've literally just been hoping. I remember having a thought in my head, I hope this doesn't have fentanyl in it, and just blowing a line to my face. And then an hour later, I'm fine. And I'm like, all right, I guess this is good cocaine. Or at least it doesn't have something that's deadly in it. It's funny. I've been in groups of people before doing cocaine, and there's actually this one time, which is this is a very dark moment in my life. I was with a group of people doing cocaine. I was in Iceland, did not know anybody, went there by myself, and we were in a park, a group of 5 guys, 5 girls, going out in Reykjavik, and one of the guys brought out cocaine. And I was fucked up. I wanted to do cocaine. Hadn't done it in probably a year and a half. And I didn't know what was in it. And I was kind of spooked at the time because I was starting to read these fentanyl articles. Maybe it was around the time Mac Miller died. But in my head, I remember thinking before that, I got to be careful. I'm not going to do coke anymore. I don't know what's in it. I don't want to fucking do a line and fucking pass the fuck out. And so what I did, I actually, at the park, because apparently there are no cops in Reykjavik. I saw maybe 4 cops the entire time in Iceland. We were doing blow in the middle of a park in Reykjavik when it was still light out. It was light out for 23 hours a day when I was there in July. And I actually said, I'm good. I'm not going to do it. And so I waited for everyone else around me to do cocaine. And then about 30 minutes later, when we got back to the apartment, I did it because I realized that no one in my group was, vomiting or dying or passed out. And so I literally let other people test the drugs for me before I did it myself. And that's the type of shit that runs through my head when I smoke something or take something, drink something that's not regulated, is that I wonder what the fuck is in this. And our country would be much safer, much less anxious if we could go into a place that was properly regulated and we can have an honest conversation, much like taking another drug, like an antidepressant. Imagine if you could walk into a store full of hard drugs and have a conversation with someone who specializes in the drug and pairing people with what they need, what they want, giving you the good and bad information, even if you don't want to hear it. Their number one concern is providing value to the customer while also making a profit. Imagine if you could do that with things like heroin, cocaine, weed. We're starting to do it now. And I don't think it would really increase the amount of people who would want it. The reason why I don't do heroin is not because it's not legal. I could have it within the day in a place like New York City or really anywhere. If I really wanted to do heroin, I could do it by the end of today. What pops into my head when I buy drugs is not the legality concerns. It is the concern of what it will do to me. Will I like it too much? I know people who have done heroin and have overdosed and died, and it started with painkillers when they were prescribed, Vicodin or Oxycontin as an athlete back in college. I know people who have had very bad experiences with heroin, and that is the reason why I don't do it, and I would not do it if it became legal, or at least I think I don't. But I don't think the reason why most people choose not to do drugs is because it's illegal. If you legalized hard drugs, if you legalize all drugs, I don't think it would change the customer base all that much. I think the people who are going to do cocaine, and I think the people who are going to do heroin. I think the people who are going to drink. People who are going to do weed, smoke weed. I don't really think you're making a pathway to drugs more than there already is. And it would be safer. We would have less dead people if hard drugs were regulated, and the government would make money. We would be safer as customers. Things might turn ugly with the cartels if their supply got cut off. But I don't know. That's a whole nother issue. But if we keep this illegal drug trade going, we can take the power out of the cartels by legalizing these harder drugs. The further we push hard drugs underground, the more power we give cartels and the more power we give to the black market, and the less safe it becomes, because no one is looking over the shoulder of someone who's fucking making crack cocaine in Tijuana. So I feel for this mother. I feel for people who have lost loved ones from fentanyl or any drug overdose. And I really do think the world would be a safer place if we decided to legalize the harder drugs. And I'm open to push back on that. I would love to hear people's opinions. If you send me a DM, reach out to me on social media, tell me what you think. So the last thing I want to get into, and I know I said we would do this thing about a history teacher being kicked out for going on a Trump rant. There's only a few minutes left in the episode, so I'll save that for a later episode.